Guys, in today's video, I want to teach you how to optimize your routine and set up your calendar so you have complete control over your schedule and optimize your productivity. So without further ado, let's jump straight to today's presentation. So in this calendar setup guide, we're gonna go over how to plan your day efficiently, optimize your routines, and master your calendar. And in summary, basically, we're gonna see how optimization is subjective, how to identify mandatory activities. We're gonna use the activity categories toolkit to learn how to label activities, and we're going to go over the difference between the time blocks and the detailed organization approach, and this is all part of the theory part of this presentation. Then we're going to go over a step-by-step guide on how to set up your own calendar, and I'm going to show you on Google Calendar how I go from nothing to a well-built calendar for you to use every day. And finally, we're going to go over the best practices. This is basically a recap of the very important thing we're going to discuss in this video. Optimization is subjective, guys, okay? So what is optimal for you may not be for someone else and vice versa. And you really need to know that because everything depends on your external environment. And this is going to be very central to the way you structure your schedule. So you want to optimize around fixed and mandatory activities, and we're going to go over that in the next slide. And I think you need a balance of these four categories, maybe not every day, but every week, just to make sure that you're not putting too much focus on one area of your life. You want to be as complete as possible. When it comes to setting up your calendar, we need to have categories to label activities so we can instantly see what this activity is about. The 6 categories I use. We're going to do a quick exercise here where I'm going to categorize those activities in the top right corner just so you can see examples of how I would go about labeling things. Okay, so this looks like this. You'll see in the calendar that it really helps to categorize and color code different activities. Time blocks and detailed organization. This is extremely important as well. You're going to see, especially if you're new to setting up a calendar, it tends to get a bit addictive, and so you want to put everything precisely, and you can do that. It works for some people. I just see that more often than not, I tend to overclutter my day. And it gets hard to find time to schedule in an unexpected appointment. And it feels like I'm busy when I'm really not. By doing this kind of time block approach and sessions, it's much clearer. It's more versatile. You can quickly shift things around. You get a good idea of where you need to be, what you're going to be doing. And then it can get more precise by going into the detail of the event on Google Calendar. And I'm going to show you this right now on the step-by-step guide to set up your own calendar. Okay, we're going to start by adding categories to our calendar so then we can label and categorize all the activities that we're going to add in the calendar. So we go to setting on the top right corner. First, you have this calendar, which is going to have your name, and I want you to use that one as work and business. You're quite likely to use that one the most, so this will be the category by default when you add a task to your calendar. Then we're gonna go to add calendar on the top left and then create new calendar. I'm gonna add them one by one, all the categories we discussed in the slide before. So now on the left side, we've got all the categories we've created. I want to color code them like I did in my slide that I showed you. Good. Now we have our categories, we've got our color. Let's start by adding things to our calendar. And the first things you want to add are the fixed things that you want to do the same way every day, all week long. I don't want to have my week starting with Sunday, so I'm just going to change that in the settings. Then in settings, you want to go in view options and click on start week on Monday. Okay, so now we've got our fixed event placed. And with this, we can build and we can do whatever we want. So I'm gonna add several tasks, label them, color code them according to their categories, and I'm gonna speed that up, and then I'm gonna show you how that could look like when the whole calendar is done. Okay, so now back to the calendar. I've kind of pretended like you have a 9 to 5. The whole idea is to show you that then you can clearly see where you're at work, where you have very important meetings, where you take some time for education and hobbies, where you have some social and personal events. The blue things, it show you that you take care of your health, you exercise, you do that kind of thing. And the gray ones, as you can see, it doesn't stand out. And that's great because this is for secondary activities like lunch, dinner, drive to work, drive back home, drive to the dentist. You don't want that to stand out too much. It's just to make sure that you don't take this time for granted. You need to acknowledge that you're gonna need time to drive to work, to wash the dishes, etc., etc. So that just allows you to book this time to do those secondary activities, but you don't want them to stand out. They're not the star of the show. And so having them grayed out is much easier to understand and read your schedule. So finally, to recap, let's go over the best practices. You want to schedule in all the fixed and mandatory activities first. That way you know that you can build around that. You want to plan your day the night before. Categorize your activities with colors. We've seen the importance of that. Don't clutter. Leave room for appointments. You don't want to try and be too precise. You want to leave room for some important meetings that may come up, and just be more flexible. If you put too many things in your calendar, it's going to feel like you don't have time for yourself. It's going to feel cluttered, and mentally it's not that great. So you want to have it kind of bright, not too cluttered, and that way you know that you have complete control over your time, your schedule, your calendar, but it doesn't feel like you don't have time. This is very important. You want to synchronize between your phone and your computer. And finally, you want to read your planning in the morning. So alright guys, that's all for me. I hope you gained some values in this video. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.